Hello, everyone, and welcome to a more unique form of a mock draft today. Instead of trying to look at what I think could happen, I'm really going to be theming this mock after picking players for spots that I believe are great fits or selections that are based mostly on my own opinion. So I will take into some account of what teams have shown to prefer if I get into a spot where I think it's honestly just a toss-up for me between two players. But besides that, I'm going to be keeping it to just what I typically prefer here. There's going to be no grading system for me on this, as this is supposed to be selections that I would grade very highly anyways. So I'm not going to waste time having that system here. So if you enjoy these types of mocks, be sure to like and subscribe, as we are getting pretty close to draft day now. So without further delay, let's get to it. So as the league appears to be getting lower on Thibodeaux, I'm getting higher on him. Uh, his pro day proved a lot to me. I still have no doubts about him that he has this really high upside, and I've still liked what I've seen from him in these interviews. I think mostly from what I've seen that these people are getting lower on him is just because he is money motivated, and I have no problems with that. I don't know why some people in the league seem to have problems with that. A lot of these guys are pretty open that money is a motivator. It's just an odd thing to see. I still like him as the first selection in the draft to the Jacksonville Jaguars here, and if he was really to fall, I mean, the Giants would be an elite selection. Seattle would be an elite selection. It'd just be a huge steal for teams if he fell. So, as Jacksonville, I'm not even gonna let that sit in my mind. I'd take him first. Aiden Hudson, Detroit Lions. I've made this selection so many times. I'm really not gonna waste you guys' time more with this. I don't see any way this does not make sense for the Lions if he falls down here past one. So, while I did mention earlier, while this is my personal favorites mock, I did want to keep in consideration for what teams have shown in some of the players they like and more scheme fits. So, I would be having typically Evan Neal here, but Ikem Ekwonu is also more than a solid fit here. Ekwonu has this really nice tape in the run game that just looks elite at moments. His ability to seal off guys and just cover ground within a couple of yards is very desirable, and it is especially desirable here. There's some really great examples of him just literally boxing out a guy with his back. Like, he will literally plant his foot ahead of the guy he wants to block and just box him out like he's playing basketball. And very few guys can actually do that and get away with it. Very few are good enough athletes to do that. I still worry about his pass protection a little bit, but for rebuilding in a very run-heavy team in the Houston Texans, this feels like the more smart choice. It gives them the flexibility as well. If the tackle thing doesn't work out for Akeem, he can go play guard for them, which is where I even liked him even more. So I think this is the more safe option for the Houston Texans, and I think it fits them a little bit better. Same selection here. I just love Gardner as the fit. His length and height for this cover three scheme by Sala, it's just too good to not select for the defense. He's one of the better cover guys as well in this draft class. The secondary is just one of the things the Jets needed to set out to correct this offseason, and I think getting this after getting Reed and starting to get these pieces starting to fall for them, this feels like this is how you finish it out. So with Neal here, this becomes more interesting for the Giants. I really like them both as the selection here, and I do truly believe the Giants do take tackle here. I'm going to stick with Cross purely based on a scheme fit, and here I'll explain for it. Uh, Cross has these really quick and smooth feet in pass protection that is pretty rare to see in a prospect. With a coach in Brian Dable that is really willing to throw the ball all day, if you watch how he is schemed up in Buffalo, where there'll be games where I think they run the ball like 4 times. Like, if he believes he is facing a defense that he can really attack through the air and should be attacking through the air, he will throw it 50 times a game. He is not afraid to do that. And to get away with doing that, you need O linemen that can keep up with that, especially at the tackle position. So to do that, we're going to have to pair someone like Cross with Thomas, who we already have here, who have the feet in pass protection, who have the sense in pass protection to be able to do that. Neil might be able to do that. I think he's definitely more than talented enough to be able to do it, but I think they will favor Cross here just because he's already shown that elite level of pass protection sense and feel as a tackle already. So this is where my personal favorites really start to kick in. I've made it quite known that I'm not very big on the quarterbacks. I really wouldn't select one high either, but this is kind of the only spot I really like taking one, and I kind of feel like it's too big a need for the Panthers for me to just ignore it. I will be ignoring some other teams' very obvious desire for a quarterback later on in the Steelers and Saints. They've more than shown that that's what they're doing. And I will be ignoring that just because I don't like any other quarterbacks past this point, at least this high. Willis has a high upside. I love how he interacts with his teammates and how he is as a person. I've seen the interviews. I've watched him pretty intently. So he's the only one I really have as a first round grade, and he's still going to take time to develop. Panthers really need to show that they're taking a step to look towards the future, as how they were last free agency and draft was kind of poor. They've improved this free agency. I liked more of the selections they've made and more of the signings they've made, but they need to start moving forward here. I think Matt Rule's job might be in threat of being cut here, even with all the money they've paid him. All right, I just finished LSU's pro day. I just really like Derek Stingley, like just in general. Derek Stingley is just incredibly smooth in his hips. His tape covering, like if you just watch his tape covering Jamar Chase in practice, even just matching him step for step, it's just a thing of beauty for DBs. Like if you're a defensive back, you watch that and like, yeah, that's perfection. That version of Stingley is a top 5 player to me. And after watching that pro day and see that he, even coming off injury, still seems to have it physically, I'm willing to take that as the top 5 player. There is a risk he is coming off injuries and some kind of wonky stuff at LSU, but I believe he can overcome it, and I like him going to Dable here to overcome it. I think Giants fans will love that man. All right, Falcons, no Kenny Pickett here. This is a rebuild. We're going to do what I think is more correct. Karlaftis is tempting here, but I like the edge group more deep, and I think you can get something comparable in the second. What I think you can't get comparable in the second is Jordan Davis here. Even though I think like Wyatt more as the interior rusher. Davis is really just an anomaly at nose tackle, and the Falcons need a guy like him to let Jarrett and hopefully the other guy, Marlon, really get going here on the interior. Jarrett's already established himself, but you really need Marlon to start coming into his own. So, as Atlanta, we really want to just crush the middle of the pocket and force these QBs to either try to scramble left or right, or make a decision with a guy in his face. So, we're in the rebuild. We want to make QBs uncomfortable and set a nice base for us for the future. I think Jordan Davis helps us do that. Okay, Seattle, this should be the biggest no-brainer for you. You do not have a starting offensive tackle rostered on your team right now. You have Forsythe and Curhan. They're developing younger pieces. They've shown some nice things, but regardless, you do not have one that has started. Let's get someone who can play either side and is literally one of my favorite players in this draft. Please do not screw this up. I will be shocked if they do. All right, I still like Garrett Wilson here. I would be shocked if the Jets go any other way and kind of mess this up. This is another one that I beg New York Jets, please do not mess this up. Wilson just really complements all the other guys you have. You have Corey Davis, and I'm forgetting the other guy right now, the smaller guy, but I really like him as well. Uh, this should be a no-brainer. Do not stay on this one too. I'll please pick Garrett Wilson and help Zach Wilson out. Okay, I know this won't be some Commanders fans' favorite selection. It's not flashy. It really isn't. But you need to replace Sheriff. You got Norwell to replace Eric Flowers. That's fine. I think that's more of a neutral move, but they like Norwell more. That's all right. It is hard to replace what is probably top 5 guard in this league now. And we're going to have to make an attempt here with Zion Johnson. Zion is one of the most clean players at offensive guard in this class. I know people who have him top 10. A lot of teams I know do like him at center. I have no personal issues with him playing at guard here, but just do keep that in mind with his potential fall. But the idea here is if you do think Wentz is something that can give you a chance to succeed, you have to give him the best chance. And the best chance is literally having zero excuses. Picking Zion here makes it zero excuses. All right, no change here as well. This is also one of my personal favorite selections here for the Vikings. Wide receiver might not seem like a huge need, but Thielen's time as the dominant outside receiver is coming to an end. I still think he can be really good in the slot, and you're going to need someone to take heat off of Jefferson. You got the quarterback, you've got the running back. This O-line is good compared to what most teams have had to deal with. Please go get a weapon, get moving in this division. This is the moment as a Vikings fan that you have a potential to strike. Try it. This is also another it's too good a pass up selection for Houston Texans. I know Lovie Smith will probably want to get some defensive guys here for his scheme, but there's still plenty of talent in rounds 2 and 3 for that. Go get a top receiver. You don't have to start him immediately, but you need to be able to eval Mills appropriately. If you want to run with Davis Mills, you need to be able to evaluate him appropriately. Getting a receiver to finally get this wide receiver core going with Brandon Cooks will help do that. I want Wyatt here, and I want him here now. Baltimore likes to blitz and get down and dirty with these opposing offenses, and Wyatt fits that mold perfectly. This man had to grind his way into Alabama. He didn't academically meet it immediately. And he shows that high motor to hunt for the ball when the ball is snapped. He plays the run with discipline, and he showed that out at the Senior Bowl in one-on-one, he is a problem for a lot of O-linemen to handle. I say we keep with the theme here with Baltimore Ravens, and we continue to stack that front seven. Booth is still my favorite cornerback fit here for the Eagles, and I think I've made it in every draft class I've done for them. I see no change here. I still like the move. All right, here's the Saints. I mentioned it earlier. I think we all know the Saints are coming up for a quarterback in reality. They're going to trade up. But as I said, I don't like any of them past Willis here. I have no first round grades past any of that. So for this, my personal selections mock, I'm going to be making some selections I think can help their rebuild instead. They got May as one of their safeties, and I think instead we're going to go get a prototype to help May out. Hamilton, while he is a prototype, right? He is just a extreme mold at 6'4". He's just not one of my guys, and he's not been one from the start. However, I do like the idea of what he can be used as here. I like bringing him down into the box and letting him outlength a lot of these tight ends and get in with a lot of the linebackers here. I think that can work very well with May taking more of the hybrid kind of coverage approach, which will really help protect Hamilton from the issues I do have on him. And I think the issue most people can see now is the speed, right? Running 4.74 is not really something you like to see out of what can be a deep safety in this class, right? So I think you can protect Hamilton from his own self and get the elite upside that a lot of people do see in him as a top 10 player. All right, I still like Trevor Penning here. I see really no difference. Penning's actually earned himself a first round grade for me now after watching more and more tape on him. He does still have issues, don't get me wrong, but I think it's just great. Bulaga is not a long-term move. I think that's very well known, right? He has all those injury issues. He has not played a single season healthy in I don't know how many years. They could go get more weapons, or they could take what they think is a top safety here. But I'm more of a let's keep our quarterback upright kind of guy, and I want to make that known here as the Chargers with this selection. Let's protect Herbert. Let's get him going and just see if we can make a run here. This is a tough division, and we really need to make sure Herbert has time to throw. All right, Daxton Hill's also become a favorite fit here for me as the Eagles. He can move up and down from that single high to slot to covering the tight end, and he's exactly what the Eagles have been wanting so badly since Jenkins left. This move is just a sigh of relief for me if I was an Eagles fan, and really gives the secondary more help. Slay's kind of been the one big piece you have, and this really takes the pressure off him to constantly have to perform at a high level. All right, Saints, let's get a receiver here. I don't really like any more offensive tackles at this point. So we're going to fill out the receiving core instead. Drake London's also not one of my favorite players. Kind of feels like I'm selecting those kind of people for the Saints, but I really like the fit here for the Saints more. You got Michael Thomas, who's very possessive, but works really well with short yardage. London can do some of that as well, but I think he can big body guys more deep a little bit, which should help Jameis, who you're starting out here. You still have Ian Book on roster. I don't know if they still feel like he's a future. I would not. Um, but I still like him as a weapon here for the future and as a weapon now for Jameis. All right, I love this fit for a bunch of teams, and that is the Steelers included. McCreary is a very smart player, and he plays bump and run coverage to a T. And when I mean bump and run, I mean like basically at point of snap when the receiver goes, you get a quick little shot in, and you just follow the guy in man coverage to wherever he goes. It's what McCreary did best while he was at Auburn. And McCreary is also especially deadly when he has a chance to just backpedal and also break on a ball, so playing that more cover four idea. And this should just be a huge love for the Steelers organization to get here. You need corner help, and I think McCreary could be a corner one sooner rather than later. Here we go, Nakobe Dean. This is one of the first moves I ever made, and I just love this fit for Bill in this defense. Is it logical with corner being basically a lock for this spot, and second wide receiver still being need after acquiring Parker? Not overly, but it's my personal favorite for this team here at this spot. Dean is an elite blitzer, and he blitzes way better than most, and he can be just used as this utility weapon all over this defense. Dean is very familiar with what Bill wants to do here, and he came from a very similar scheme in Georgia. I see no issues with getting Dean going and going early here. So I really like Olave here. And I mean, I really like Olave here for the Packers. If any wide receiver in this draft could potentially emulate what Adams did here in some fashion, I think it's Olave. It's the combination of the quick feet to create separation, the very sound hands, the build itself. I can just see it with Olave to potentially be Adams. I can see it. The biggest thing you really need to get here is you need to get the release that Adams have. That's what makes Adams really separate from a lot of other receivers is the numerous amount of elite releases and just feel he has at the release, at the line of scrimmage. And if you can get even a fraction of that release training here for Olave, you can almost get a sub in for Adams with a newer, younger age Adams. We'll see if he can emulate that. That's a lot to ask of a young receiver, but I think you can get a somewhat of a mold here with him here. So no defensive interior guy for the Cards now, but they can go cheaper. Or they could also get a guy to develop into a starter. I'm really liking Linderbaum. Hudson is still much a very good starter, one of the top centers still. And they're really not forced to start Linderbaum if they do want to. I just think Linderbaum being the highest graded offensive center for the last 2 years, while also showing good athletics, has made him so desirable and more desirable even despite that short arm length that I talked about earlier. If he can get it going here, this is something that'll help keep Kyler upright and give him time to throw for the foreseeable future. So Dallas, this worked out pretty well, eh? I love taking Karlaftis here, even though I think if Jerry was selecting, I think he'd take a bigger name. He's shown to do that in the past. I think he really likes the Georgia edge if he was in that spot here, right, in Walker. But Karlaftis is young and he's hungry to play. Pairing him with your edge one and Loris will make this edge group deadly for tackles. They both play with power and just have the stoutness in the run game, which should really add some stability here versus the run, which they have struggled with on the interior. And both these guys can kick inside versus these run sets to really help those guys out. I like this move. For a win now mode type of team, I'm taking a guy that I think can start and play at a high level like Elam. I love the player, I love the fit, and I love taking him here for them. Not much else to say. So no offensive tackle I really like here, and I'm not big on the receivers to fit here either. What I do like is Kenyon Green to fill Saffold's role. He's got decent athletics, and he is a mauler in every position he started, and he played in both tackles as well, even though he doesn't project well at tackle in the NFL. This should really help keep the run game churning and protect Tannehill and be a very good future move as well. helps keep the team cheap with that A.J. Brown contract looming. So this is not a good spot for the Buccaneers. Defensive interior is basically gone until the second round now, really, and same thing with the interior on the offensive line. So I'm going to go buck wild here, and I'm going to take Trey McBride. Tight end is a sneaky need here. Howard's gone. Bright's kind of your tight end 3. And even if Gronk comes back, he's continuing to get older and slower, and he's not really a long-term replacement. McBride will be a legit blocker here, and he'll have a mentor in Gronk, and he is also a legit day one threat in the receiving game. This is a future move that also helps now. Brady should love this tight end immediately from everything I've seen, and pairing him with Gronk can keep this defense or keep this offense, pardon me, elite and keep these defenses guessing. So Trayvon Walker is a great selection here. Green Bay uses 3 edges for their defensive scheme a lot, and they have picks in the past to emulate that. They have the picks in the second round as well to fill the gap in IDL and offensive tackle, where I like those not only schematic fits more, but also value fits more. So we're going to go pick the high-end athlete that can develop here at Edge 3, while Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary take the bulk of the load early now. Kansas City. Well, Trent McDuffie is also not my favorite type of player draft, but I really like the scheme fit here, and I think he could do really well here. Chiefs play a lot of this bend don't break type defense. They keep a lot of the play in front of them, and they force opponents to basically play a perfect drive, the whole drive every time. So a player like McDuffie should thrive in that scheme. And I think with him being able to play both outside and slot, it gives you some more versatility early for this Chiefs defense. And I really like the idea of taking a guy like that here. All right, edge help is needed as well, and I like bringing in Johnson to help it out. There's enough talent around here that I don't think you have to rely on him being a number 1 edge. You got Chris Jones in the middle. You brought back Noddy. You brought in Clark here, who you didn't have to cut. He took a cheaper deal. I like this. This should really give you a base level of constant pressure at the front of the line of scrimmage, and should help in the run game as well. Johnson's really shown some nice things versus the run. I think this will help keep this team keeping the play in front of them when pairing Johnson and McDuffie. All right, so there's really no good selection here at corner, which is what I'd want to do as the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't really like taking offensive line here either. Most of the guys I have are in the second and third round now. So what I'll do instead is I'm going to continue to get better at a spot that we're already good at. Pairing Devin Lloyd with Pratt and Wilson should be a very nice core to walk into next season with. Lloyd is very used to playing in these tough weather conditions, and he's going to keep the tempo that this defense likes to establish early in all their games. Lloyd has shown some really nice thing in coverage. He is a very nice size at linebacker, and he is not afraid to get his nose into the run game. I really like this scheme fit a lot here for the Bengals. So for the last pick, Lions could go quarterback here to ensure they get a 5th-year option on the quarterback they like, but as this is my personal favorite player in mock, I'm going to pick a player I just like here more, and that's going to be Jalen Petra. Petra tallied 47 stops on the Baylor defense, and if you watch the film, you can see exactly why. This guy flies around the field, and he just blows plays up, and he has a love for it. He comes down hard on guys. Like, he comes downfield very quick, and he will blow a guy up. He's a very tough player, and that style of play really just it emulates exactly what the Lions want as their whole team of this extreme grind and grit that Dan Campbell has established here. And I think moving forward, this is a better selection than what they probably are going to be making here. But maybe if they get like a corral here, that this is a better selection if they give them the time to develop. But we're gonna have to see. As a personal favorites mock, I personally like Petra here more. And with that being the last pick in our draft, I thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you another time. Later.